Welcome back, everyone, to the Smite Challenger Circuit Qualifiers. My name is Gormizer. Joining me on the desk again is Trelly Relly, coming in for his first day. And we are going to be blessed with a very fun set. The last set of the day, late to scrims, going up against Peace and Love. And this is a really fun one, Trelly, because there's 3 names, maybe 4 in this entire lobby that I recognize. So a lot of new faces, a lot of new opportunities to see what these teams have to offer.
I mean, that's pretty much what this is all about, right? You're just trying to get your name out there, show what you can do, see if you've got the skill, see what it takes, and that's what we're going to see here because, like you said, 3 names that maybe 2 or 3 that are really recognizable. Yeah. The rest are pretty much just going to see what they got.
I know, at least on one side, you look towards late to scrims. Davey, realistically, is just on there, someone that we recognize over time and has done well. They're going to be the last ones today. This is the last one of Europe for this week, by the way. Make sure, if you're watching today, that you tune in next Friday and Saturday as well, because we'll be cracking down and I think confirming every team that is moving forward to the SCC next weekend. And this is the bracket they're playing through. If you were wondering why there's so many teams, so many players, and of course so much, whether it's known information or unknown information, a lot of familiar names, and like today, and like this set, some unfamiliar names. It's because there were 16 of them that have come through. Double elimination, best of 3s all the way through, so they are fighting their way to be in the top 6 to get back to the SCC. But again, you look at late to scrims, I recognize Davey, Peace and Love on the other side. I recognize Zero's name. I also recognize Flurry Q. It's been a long time since I've seen Flurry Q's name, and I feel like more recently it's been on like Twitter and things like that than it has been in game. And so it's going to be a fun one to watch what these players have to offer, because it is that opening, right? When you have a couple of people that have the competitive experience but a lot new fresh eyes, changes the pace of the game.
It absolutely does. I mean, having that sort of veteran experience that, as a shot caller on your team can always be a big benefit, of course. So, having those names, people that have been around at least the competitive scene, that's going to give them a slight edge. But, like I said, the unknown is always scary. You never know what they're going to bring out. I'm really hoping to see some sick strats here.
We'll see. Maybe there's going to be pocket picks. That's what I'm most excited for. We can see now in picks and bans if either of these teams have something special for us. This is where things always get really interesting to me, Trelly, because if I don't know Ardun, and I don't, maybe Ardun just plays like the weirdest mid laners in the world. You never know. Maybe, of course, we also get to see things that are meta, like Thoth and maybe the occasional Zeus as of right now. So far, things are sticking pretty close to meta with Adaji and, of course, a Fenrir ban. So nobody's really deviating from the weird path just yet, or onto the weird path.
I mean, I'm hoping to see a first pick Anubis or something of that nature at this point, just because, again, we don't know what you got right now, so maybe you could bring us out something
also,
special.
Also, just do it because it's fun.
Exactly. I mean, it was big damage. You got some good clear either way. These bans, yeah, nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. All of these are the top meta, like most pressure picks you can get right now. Izanami, very popular so far this tournament. Just a safe, very high pressure hunter. So just taking that away, maybe they want to focus on the dual lane, or maybe they just don't want to deal with Izanami.
Yeah, honestly, just try to control it down. If they're going Soul, has a lot of flexibility, so someone they can go mid, go to Hunter, and at least, like you said, deals with the Izanami factor, and with Thoth being banned out by the other side was the Fenrir, the Bastet alongside that. Makes it a little easier to flex her around, something that we've seen a lot in the SBL. But 2 top picks that we've gotten used to seeing a lot of here is Bologna and Bacchus. Bologna, it feels like out of nowhere. Season 9, all of a sudden, it was just like locking her in. Bacchus as well. Did not have a very flourishing Season 7 or 8 for either of these 2 gods, but here we're finally getting a lot more. And we saw what Bacchus could do earlier when paired up, I mean, admittedly with a Ho Yi, but just in general, it's kind of a nuisance.
Yeah, the Berserker start that everyone keeps to be going with in the solo lane, it's just
for
the auto attacks are just going to be insane. And Amaterasu, another character that utilizes it so well. So all these auto attack warriors are definitely very strong right now. On the flip side, of course, you have those guardians in the solo lane that are also coming back. So it really depends on which route you want to go. And it seems people want to fight the auto attack warriors with their own auto attack warriors. So the Ama's still being hovered. They're not quite sure if they want to go. Okay, they are going to lock it in there. So just wanted to go with the Frostbound Berserkers start and just see how much damage they can really get off there. But this Bacchus pick I love seeing. I love this early pressure out of these duo lanes.
Especially with the fact that, I mean, they still have a Hunter that they can really start to flex over. It's going to be really interesting. Right now, we've got the Medusa going alongside it. I thought we were going to have to wait a little bit longer before we got to the Hunter. I was prepared for that conversation to take a little bit of a pause. But instead, we have the Medusa, up against, well, actually, theoretically could be a mid lane Medusa. I guess, but realistically, we haven't been seeing a lot of that. The Agni gets locked in, and you know, when you look at the Bacchus, you look at Bologna, you look at Amaterasu, honestly, even Medusa, a majority of these have been locked in pretty often over the last few days. Agni feels like an EU special.
I think so. Yeah, Agni's one of those gods where, like I said, like we said last spot, it's just that early pressure feels a little rough. You know, you have to get very close to the wave to clear with that flame wave. But once you hit 5, once you get those meteors online, you can just stay very far back, poke from a distance. You can provide great damage over the wall. I mean, he's just nice and safe.
We'll see how well he's going to be able to fare against Persephone. Bans that came through in the second half. Ares, Cabrakan over there from Peace and Love. And then late to Scrims. Whoop, it's the Tiamat and the Circuit. There we go. I knew I had seen him. The Tiamat as well, someone that, like, last year is either banned or she's first picked. And then towards the end of last year starts to disappear, gravitates towards the end of it. She's in that weird zone right now where it's like no one's prioritizing her. They're still a little scared of her, right? You got to keep her under control.
I definitely think right now the mid lane is being shaped into a meta where like the double flat pen meta started and everyone's like Thoth is OP, you know, these sort of things. But I still think it's being molded into what people really want to start going. I mean, Tiamat is always going to be one of those characters that's going to be incredibly strong with her mitigations and everything, and the conduit gen upgrade just goes so well with her kit. But you know, people don't want to deal with it. Even if it's not the strongest pick right now, we know what is strong right now, and that's that Persephone.
Yeah, she has been performing incredibly well, and her passive feels really good. Like, I know a lot of people think of like the anti-death portion of it a lot, but she gets gold too. She gets a lot of farm pretty quickly. We'll see if that comes to fruition here. Nemesis, Sobek, and the Achilles rounded out the picks as we jump into game number 1. We're going to learn a lot about these teams today. We have no clue, at least I personally have no clue about a majority of these players. And so I am even more excited to see what they're going to be able to apply. And already,
I love seeing this group up here. So what they've been doing and what everyone does right now is when you know there's a Persephone on the other team, you all group up right here. She's going to place her flowers, and everyone's going to look and see if she steps up too far to grab those flowers. But it looks like she may be on. Yeah, she got her 2, so she's not going to be posting up. They're just waiting to see how close this Persephone can get to them. And they're like, all right, she's not going to step up, so they're going to back off.
Now, I will say, I did hope for an invade of some sort, like at that point, 5-man invade on the duo lane or something. Like just run in. Granted, not advisable in the way the map kind of punishes you for walking over there, but it'd still be fun every now and then. At least you get a little bit of it. But they split back up, and as you said, they fall back. No kills, nothing too crazy.
It looks like Zero was a little late, though. He didn't get back to that speed buff in time, so they might be a little bit slow on the clear. Looks like late to scrims is going to be early to lane in this case because they don't have that killer time. But besides that, not going to be too much of a detriment.
Yeah, feels pretty solid for them. I'm also interested. Duo lane's always interesting to watch just in general. We saw it a lot earlier. But Bacchus Medusa, even with the pressure Sobek can apply, feels like it should get things going fast. They pop the frenzy. And we've seen this quite a few times over the last couple of days. Just hit it, clear the wave as fast as you can, get the pressure, go to the Harpies.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well get it on cooldown early. It's not like you're going to be pulling Gold Fury anytime soon.
Yeah.
So just use it for that first wave, which is very important, hitting level 2 first. And it looks like Ollie might be in some trouble here. The stun's good.
Yeah, unfortunately, not going to be able to get out of there. Really good aggression from Flurry Q. Leitmotif, credit for the kill. Perfect place to get your first blood onto the Hunter. And it shows the showcase. They even got the beats from Davey, so they should take control of the lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how you play Bacchus right now. You're constantly flopping in, and this could be a kill, too, if it's good.
No, Davey.
Not enough. Luckily, that Asapre came in just in time, but this is exactly how you want to be playing Bacchus right now. Even into Sobek, one of the more aggressive, probably, you know, besides like Ymir, one of the spookiest early Guardians in this lane. Once you walk up, pop that girl, and just attack the wave, everyone just has to back off.
Yeah, you have to be much more careful here, even if you're tossing back. Soul can do some decent early game damage, but I think the Medusa-Bacchus combo, well, it's already proven itself with how aggressive they've been. Not amassing too much of a lead. A level lead, or at least half one for Leitmotif, thanks to that first blood. Feels pretty solid. I'm also interested in these junglers. Nemesis isn't, like, bad early game, but isn't necessarily known for early game. And the Achilles as well, we haven't seen a whole lot of him. And it feels like, well, we might get to see a little bit of him here. He's going for a gank onto the duo lane, goes immediately onto Davey, finds the stun, Disapparate, pulls Davey out. He's not getting very far. They're chasing him. What a great knock-up from Flurry Q and iPort. gets the kill.
That's always very awkward when you're around a soul that has no way to escape, but she's in the corporeal form, so you can't really touch her, and she just knows like, well, I'm gonna be dead here eventually, but I just have to sit here and watch. Looks like April is gonna be putting the pressure over here on this blue buff, but interestingly enough, Amaterasu opting to go for the Eye of the Jungle. No death toll on this Ama.
Yeah, that's a huge change of pace. We saw what I guess some not hunters, mid laners occasionally picking up Eye of the Jungle, but I'm thinking even like then it was book meta, like it was not necessarily something too often. Is this, I mean, we don't see her leaving lane too often. What's this a girl trying to accomplish with this?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the death toll you get so much more benefit out of it.
Yeah, survivability.
The only thing you can really do is go for your buffs consistently, maybe invade those harpies.
Yo, those blue buffs don't know what hit them, baby.
But that death toll, I mean, you just get so much value. You're constantly auto-attacking. I mean, I think that it's a little bit off the mark here, but maybe late game, if you decide to get, Seer of the Jungle or Protector of the Jungle, that could really be a better power spike if you think they're going to get anti-heal, so that could be the route they're trying to go there. If they do make it to level 20, that's the issue here. You're going to be getting behind in lane, you would think, if you're not going for that sustain. So
already you're floating about 1,000 gold, a little over 1,000 gold behind from Peace and Love, so late to scrims, they're going to have to make sure that shows what it's worth, especially with how often or how much we've seen this Amaterasu prioritized. They didn't necessarily first pick it, but still, something you got to think about. Also going to watch Steefy to see how that lane goes. Do you think that Davy and Port like teamed together, like they made their names together? Is that just a really, really crazy coincidence?
I think they just, they tried to make their names Port and Davy, and they were taken.
They
so
were
they were
taken.
like, let's just
it's
put
nowhere
an I
near
in
as
front
fun
of
or creative as I wanted to be. It's just like, man, how do I keep my name though?
Yep, you just put a little eye in front of it. And here, the Grasping Death is going to come out. Does grab. That was just a fight over mid camps.
And good meteors, good grasping deaths. Even though there's no follow-up, just watching Nemesis stuck running in place like she's on a treadmill feels pretty fun. We have Ollie rotating over. This is going to be the first rotation. Flurry Q still hanging out. Davey does not seem perturbed in the least with this Bacchus here. You had mentioned it was a fight over mid camps before. Now they're going to get aggressive, split them 1-1. So a little bit of favor still going towards Peace and Love despite the early rotation.
Yeah, and now once those things respond, I mean, the purple buffs are coming back. We're going to have to see if these supports do want to rotate over, but they're still trying to get very aggressive in this mid lane. I mean, even with going down a little bit, Sobek still has a lot of pressure and can interrupt a lot of what Flurry Q wants to do on this Bacchus pick. I mean, you never really want to flop in with the Berserkers. You don't have a bead, so you could get plucked back into the tower. So you just have to hold on to that belly flop and be very just frugal with it.
We'll see what Flurry Q is going to be able to do. I mean, those knockups have been, I think, devastating. I might be overusing the word today, but it's the only way to describe it. It's just obnoxious. Earlier, Davey had to pre-beads a knockup just so he could survive a little longer. Things like that just really showcase, I think, what this Bacchus can bring to it. Very often we're used to seeing that, though, from the Sobek. The plucks haven't been happening. I was going to say haven't been coming through too often, but outside of maybe one or two early, we haven't seen Ollie making that standard Sobek presence known yet.
Yeah, he didn't go for the blink start, so he is opting to go for that more laid back, get the frenzy as well, stay back, maybe just looking to re-engage off of these flops. Definitely a viable strategy if that's what he wants to go for here. And it looks like they're just going to be playing safe, playing the farm game. I mean, they don't feel too confident right now with the small lead they do have with forcing something.
Well, they're going to go for Oracles. It looks like late to scrims we're going to try to reply. Davey is going to get ulted there by Highport. No, it's going to be the turnaround instead. It was April who goes and gets aggressive, great shots from Davey. Just the amount of damage in the manner of seconds.
It wasn't even like Iport held on to that ult that long. He ulted the second he saw the damage. It was just too much. Good auto attack cancels here, and it's going to be now April cleaning up as well.
And now we'll have to see, can you get out of here? And the answer is no. Steefy at least puts one to bed. 2-for-1 trade, though. You lose your jungle after they pick up a kill. Feels really solid, at least in terms of retribution for Peace and Love, but maybe not the way they wanted that trade to go.
And Ollie did steal away the obelisk here, so they are going to, late to scrims is going to take that as well. Whoever one they want to put it on, probably the Sobek. It would be nice at this point. So good win for them. They decided, you know what, we are going to take the fight here. We're not going to look for that. We're not going to look for that sitting back, as I said, and works out perfectly. They got the 2 kills. They did trade 1, but and they also got the obelisk, so that's a big win for late scrims. Now they are up in gold now. Yeah,
being able to take the lead back after, it was, I don't want to say like a tremendous lead from Peace and Love, but still being able to float around that 1,000 gold mark for quite a few minutes at the very beginning after getting the first 2 kills in the game. You think they'd be able to hold on a little bit more. Unfortunately for them, That was just a really, really good engage. I think goes to showcase how much Davey can do as well as Ardun. Agni, you had mentioned it earlier, but just brings so much to the table. Now they're going to have to see if they can shut down Stevie. Stevie does not have ult. Stevie has nowhere to go either. Goes for the up-down right as it comes off cooldown.
Oh,
and unfortunately, that is not going to create enough space.
I was going to say, if that up-down actually got him out, but unfortunately they did have the mirror ready to catch just in case he did get away. But I always see these Ballonas just instead of ulting out, they just want to buckle down and fight. And he did have his team rotating over, so maybe that was the thought process. Maybe I just do a little bit more damage before the squad gets here, but unfortunately not there in time. So going to even out the stat line at the very least. 3-3 now for Peace and Love.
Makes it a little more upsetting now that the 500, 600 gold late to Scrims has been able to pick up has shifted over there. The last few fights being more dictated by their pace. Stevie, literally ults off cooldown there. Very fun to see what they're going to, well, I guess change up in the next couple of minutes to try and steady things out. Really good call, mostly from April and the presence that we've seen from this Nemesis across the map. It's been a few ganks, over in mid, a couple of fights, but specifically here in solo, that really is just letting your presence be known. It looks like we're about to see another. Stevie, once again, the ult is not available right now. Seems like it'll be coming up relatively soon. But now they have a ward. They're going to be a lot more worried about April, who's going to have to deal with Port in the jungle.
Just a little poke fight there.
Yeah.
April, spotted out by the ward. Of course, the ult already is back up, which is crazy because of how much cooldown he's building into already. An Erendite on the way. They're going to be just slowing some more poke here. Looks like they're going for these back camps and blue invade.
And they're getting aggressive, but not wanting to fight. It looked like they wanted a little bit more, but it's going to be Flurry Q. A leap forward, no knock-up. There's a grasping death. Goes a little wide, and unfortunately doesn't connect with anybody. Slams out into the lane. That's going to be a big ult offline for Peace and Love. And now maybe an opportunity to continue getting aggressive. Davies here right beside the red buff. And getting some damage onto Leitmotif. Here comes the rest of the crew. 4 people running up. Agni playing Separator. And they get rid of the red buff and manage to walk away.
Oh yeah, that red buff was gone. They was just a little late on the rotation. They were over there by blue, so it took everyone over. And now it looks like they could be posting up for a Gold Fury. Everyone's around here, but there's just no way they're gonna. Oh, they are gonna go for the engage.
Now April trying to get away. The knockups are good. There's the Intoxicate as well, but the double dash gets him out of there. Execute range is there, but with a good Supernova, that's going to make everyone on Peace and Love turn around, run away, and unfortunately not get a return kill.
And that they have to watch out because Sager does have this teleport enable and the Amaterasu passive. They just have a lot of burn for this objective. If they did want to go for a surprise pull with Soul's damage, with Ama's passive, they could really burn it. So they're going to have to keep their ward game up very strong on this side of the map specifically because that persistent teleport can come through at any time.
Something, yeah, that we saw a lot a few weeks ago. Kind of disappeared, was nerfed this patch, just having a couple of extra seconds there on the cooldown. Still something I think that is going to be prevalent. And knowing that both solo laners have it and can teleport around, although it's going to be on cooldown for a hefty chunk of time there for Issa Girl, means that Stevie, I expect and almost want Stevie to be involved in some fights over around the Fury.
Absolutely. That's what you kind of need at this point because you are behind in the lane matchup. You're not going to want to 1v1 the Ama, but the real value you're going to get out of this Bellona pick is fighting in to these double mages that really can't deal with you right now. You already have the Talisman finish, and Ollie might be in some trouble.
A little bit of damage thrown their way. Good Meteor Bombs from Ardun. Now it's April who's locked up. Good body blocks from Flurry Q, but not enough. Both Frenzies pop for both team, now getting aggressive, trying to figure out how to get into this fight. And unfortunately, I think Flurry Q gets interrupted before they can go for the re-engage they truly wanted. Ardun has a good dash. Leitmotif is rotated over, but it seems like they're just going to have to fall back and go for their buffs.
Yeah, late to scrims, this XP lead is what I'm worried about right now. It does keep climbing ahead. A 2-level lead in solo. Yeah, 3K, almost climbing towards 4K right now, that XP lead, and that's really going to start showing in these double relics that are already being bought over everyone else. So this is, in my mind, this is the time you would want to force that gold free if you were looking to, but maybe they're just looking for a pick first and they don't really want to jump the gun.
It's that awkward, Medusa, I don't think of her ult as secure, but you don't really want to group up on the Gold Fury when it's available. Same thing, you look at Bacchus and Intoxicate. You want to be a little careful with how they engage on this. They are at least posturing over towards this side of the map. They're going to get the Oracle Harpies. So late to scrims are in a good spot. Ward-wise, on the left-hand side. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of deep wards for Peace and Love, so they've seen the movements over there. And they're at least anticipating a little bit of it.
Yeah, they're just gonna they're just playing it safe here. Obviously, they can't tell how much of a what's it called, the amount of team fight ultimates they have that are just, with 2 mages, you really have so much space control. They have the Agni and the Soul, so you don't really want to force into that too hard. At this point, it's pretty much just farm up, get to that late game, and I really think once It's a Girl gets that upgrade on the Eye of the Jungle, that's when we'll really see that item come into fruition, because right now, like I said, we can't really figure out what it's going to be there for, but it looks like a fight's breaking out.
Yeah, good grasp of death coming down the middle from Zero. Locks down a couple of people. Not a lot of damage to follow up. Port has to fall back. And unfortunately, it does seem like that's all she wrote. A few ults thrown out there, a lot of damage, but no deaths as these teams manage to continue balancing each other out. Another little slap fest over in the solo lane, but you had mentioned it earlier, with It's a Girl in this position, probably not going to be in the same vein of boxing as a Bologna just yet.
I mean, Berserker Shield, Witchblade finished at this point. I mean, they're not going to be trading autos, and if you are, you're going to be losing that fight. I mean, right now, It's a Girl is going for the blue buff. You got 2 here. I'm not even sure he's going to be worried.
Yeah, seems safe. There's going to be, oh, and unfortunately, wide ult from Steefy goes a little too far. Does not find the stun, but does secure the blue buff. So Steefy at least manages to maintain that. Goes back to lane. Seems just fine. Ollie's hunting around in the jungle with Davy. We've seen a couple of obelisk steals earlier. With April over here, this could be a good chance for a pluck to come through. Flurry Q also looking for the engage. There's the knock up onto Davy. There's going to be the stun, but it's not going to connect. Disapparate going to be good enough to create some space. Davy trying to run away. Davy just tries to stay alive, and so far they're doing well. Good peel from the team. Gets Davy out of it for just a little bit, but there's the execute. But it's a 2-for-1. Steefy, 0. Die in the process, and now it's the turnaround. The damage is so good from Ardun. They're going to continue chasing him down. Port goes away. Flurry Q locked up, thrown back, and taken down by April, and now it is Leitmotif versus the world, and unfortunately, there is no response for this one. Quadra kill for April, and a free Gold Fury for late to scrims.
That started out so well for Peace and Love. I mean, Steefy was teleporting in behind. You thought, okay, Davy's done, but the Soul Disapparate just lasted so long, and it took so long for them to get there. It was great peel out of the Sobek as well, and then April just gets to clean up with this Nemesis. Slice and dice, Quadra kill, Gold Fury. I mean, what more could you want from that fight?
it just all falls right in your hand. Ardun as well. You have to look at, I mean, Golden Hand doing pretty well as of right now, but like damage-wise, so much in that fight. Stuns, as well as just like general flame waves that happen to connect on people. That was a heavy hitting mage that came through. We're going to take a look back and watch this specifically from April's perspective. It immediately starts us off with a good ult, but I mean, you called it. Just chasing people down and doing a great job.
And the beautiful supernova as well, right before Davy went down, just stacking up everyone who was trying to finish him before he could go into that form. Oh, the execute, if it did get off, that could have went for him. Nope, easy cleanups, and then just a little juke shoes on the way out, and then they get the Fury to clean up. And it looks like they were brawling while we were looking back. Another kill.
He's starting things up. April is at half health right now. Fighting Steefy, needs a little bit of help, but it's a double kill for Ardun on the backline. Flurry Q forced to run away, and Steefy just cannot get out of here. Goes for the ult, but good luck disengaging. Nemesis chases him down, and that's a 6-1 and 5 slash line.
Yep, and it looks like Pyro was taken. They're looking at the FG. They don't even need Davy at this point, who just got the tier 1 over and left. And like I said, with that Ama passive with the Shoguns, they're going to have so much DPS. I don't think anyone's going to be able to get close to this.
Haven't even had to upgrade their starter just yet. We got boxed out. Admittedly, we didn't know how the lane phase was going to go, and for Sager, it wasn't necessarily crazy, but that's a 3-level lead over the Bologna. I feel like you're doing just fine as of right now. 7.6k gold. Of course, a whole butt-ton of experience that you're seeing separating these two teams, making it a lot easier for them. 3 levels and a few rolls, 4 in mid, separating Ardun from 0. So they're confidently flexing around this league.
Yeah, it's going to be time for the old group and push at this point. I don't think anything can really stop them unless they grouped up and found a pick beforehand. At this point, any 5v5 is going to be very dangerous. It
almost changes the game when you're even, like numbers is not even for you. You have to play in a different way. Look for picks here if you're Peace and Love. Flurry Q was doing a great job of engaging early on. You had highlighted this earlier, but everyone hitting level 12 for late to scrims earlier did allow them to get those second relics online, and those have definitely come into play here. Finally online there for Flurrycue, and it's the Bracer. It's not anything I would have expected to see if I was going to go through the list, especially from behind here. So Peace and Love are in an interesting spot. Whereas if you're looking at late to scrims, a couple more levels, we're going to start seeing these upgraded starters.
It seems like Flurrycue was thinking, you know, we're going to be on our heels here. We're probably going to be stuck underneath the Phoenix. Maybe I'll just buff my team as much as I possibly can. Because the other option in my mind is either like a Shelf to, you know, help out, a Sprint to escape, or a Blink to engage. And right now, I don't think the Blink Intoxicate really is doing any sort of help for the squad. So I could definitely see just, you know, pop the Bracer underneath Phoenix, pop the Girdle underneath Phoenix, hope you buff them enough to maybe get a pick and keep your bird standing.
Well, Sager goes around the back line, looking for something. Unfortunately, not going to find any kills. They do get a tier 2 tower, so it's not like it's the end of the world. Port is pushing up the mid lane here for Peace and Love, making sure that they aren't going to be as immediately under threat as their right lane tower. It seems like this is going to be the retreat. Oni Fury is going to be coming back in a little over a minute here, maybe a little over 2 minutes. And so it's going to take a little bit of time for late to scrims to be able to bounce back, just map state-wise. But there's so much farm available to them right now, and again, they're still looking to hit level 20, so they're feeling very comfortable with this early Fire Giant.
Yeah, all of their towers are pretty untouched at this point. I mean, there's just not even a tier 1 that's halfway down. It is looking very rough at this point. Looks like they're going to group up and get those last 2 tier 2s on the map. Sager did just cross over to 20. I've been keeping my eye on Sager because I'm really curious if it's going to be a seer of the jungle, protector of the jungle. At this point, not even going to be that useful. If they are going to be going for these Phoenix Sieges, you're not going to get those procs. But either way, want to look at what that Ama does end up upgrading.
I have that feeling of when you win too fast and all of a sudden the upgrade you wanted maybe doesn't matter as much. We'll see if they can continue on that trajectory. Right now, you are still hanging around in the jungle, but that is a big engage for them. That dazzling offensive can open up a lot of stores, or a lot of opportunities for them. They're going to jump into the Phoenix. There's going to be the engage. It's Flurrycue trying to jump deep. There's going to be a good grasping death. Great from Zero. They're trying to lock down Davy, and they successfully do so, but it'll cost them as many lives as it did last time. Ardun does a lot of damage. April's over in mid, looking to get the better of a trade between them and Port. Trades out the jungle for the carry. The rest of the team still getting aggressive. Good pluck, but better beads from Zero. Peace and Love fall back. They still lose the Phoenix. It looks like they are potentially going to lose a little bit more. Sager is going into the base. Maybe a little too deep here. Gets a lot of DPS out there, some good damage. The rest of the team falls back.
Right. I mean, you go for the 4-1 split. Apriel wins that hard in the mid lane, obviously. As long as you don't end up getting executed through your shield at that point, Nemesis, with this much of a lead, is going to win that. Gets the tier 2. They still end up getting that Phoenix despite losing Davy, which, honestly, the engage from Peace and Love was pretty solid. It was a nice petrified. Both of the mages got poked down very quickly. It just, you know, they just had too much sustain, and like I've been saying, Sager is just way too far ahead. There is no one that even does damage to this Amaterasu right now.
Yeah, I mean, he walked at 4 of them, and they were running. I don't understand how you can have a presence like that. Looked like it was Protector of the Jungle. That was just scooped up for both April and Sager, so they are going to be able to get their upgrades. Fire Giant coming back in 30 seconds. You have to imagine a lot of wards and inventory. They're preparing for that. This is where things get awkward for Peace and Love, though. Can you defend this Fire Giant?
I mean, at this point, you don't have anyone with any global presence, so someone is going to have to be back clearing those waves, and there's no way they can make it over in time. So you go for the 4v5 steal. If you mess it up, you throw. I think at this point, you probably group together and say, hey, we got a pick last time underneath our Phoenix. With our, you know, our Girdle and our Bracer. We do have the buffs to stay under here. Maybe you just group up and say, you know what, we'll give you this one. Because I think at this point, if you do throw the 4v5, the game's over at that point.
Yeah, to be very careful with this. Left side wave was pushed forward. Oni fire minions going down left-hand side, though. If no one goes to clear those, there's going to be a thorn in Peace and Love's side. They are going to be backing up. It looks like the back is going to come through. You know, when you have the teleports available, theoretically, Steefy is the perfect person to send over there. And it seems like Steefy's going to be on their way, but White Motif's over. And I think you're calling it perfectly. If you recognize you're not able to take the fight, just go ahead and play it as safe as possible. Fall back, do what you can. Right now, it's going to be a Phoenix defense that's on the horizon for Peace and Love.
Yeah, at this point, you got to go for the 5v5 on the first Phoenix you got, but it looks like no one is going to be in position in time, but they're not rushing it down. Stevie's going to teleport in. If the pluck was ready, they could have been rough, but it looks like they are going to be able to go. So this is what you want to see. This is the team fight, 5v5 under Phoenix. You have your buffs. This is exactly what Peace and Love need.
Well, there's going to be the Frenzy. That should be a dead Phoenix, but instead, it's going to be a kickoff for the fight. Flurry Q jumps in. Flurry Q takes all of their health bar and gets burned down by the jungler here for late to scrims. Now the chase is on Port trying to disengage. Port is not going to make it very far. The mid laner, Arden, puts their name on the board even more. 5-0-5, and it is just starting there. A double kill for the mid laner as they continue this chase. 4 down for Peace and Love. Bologna trying to stop 5, and Bologna seems to have a better idea of where to be. This Titan's going to go down and late to scrims take 1.
Yeah, at that point, the lead was just too much. I mean, Flurry Q had a great engage. They popped the girdles. They had good CC on the mages, but these tanks were just way too unkillable. It was a perfect engage, but you didn't have the damage to back it up.
And unfortunately for them, I think there were a lot of moments, especially early on. They started with the kill lead. They got first blood. They did so much. But you could see not only the fights, I think, from late to scrims, but realistically their presence on the map, where they were putting that pressure in the jungle, really made a big difference. We'll look at all the numbers and shake that one down, though, right after this quick break. Well, Late to Scrims have an early arrival here in this set. A nice 1-0 start for them. Just the map play really favoring them as they go forward. My name is Gormizer Trelli, joining me again on the desk here. And Trelli, again, it feels like there's a lot of balance. Peace and Love have some good early fights, and then it just slowly starts to slip through their hands.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't one-sided by any means. They did have that sort of early pressure, like we were saying, but it seemed like once the solo laner started rotating, and once they lost that huge fight where it looked like they had a great pick on Davey, and then it just went south, and April got that quadra, it was just like, okay, maybe this is a little bit out of hand. So definitely not out, but they're gonna have a tall hill to climb here.
And I think I've been looking at Agni. He's always been in the middle ground of mages. Sometimes he's high prioritized, and sometimes he's just ignored. And this time around, we got to see exactly why his priority is so worthwhile. A lot of good damage that came down from Arden. And a lot of it set up his team for the rest of it, whether it was just finding those giant burst meteors, the flame waves, or the stuns. Either way, it opened up a lot of conversations to the point where it even ended up helping a ton. You had mentioned the quadra kill. And, of course, we have to watch that again just because it is so impressive for what April was able to do in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Davey, I think Davey actually got so much damage
Yeah,
off.
true.
He was caught out pretty bad. The teleport came right behind him, but it was just that the sap rate clutched up just enough to set all this up, the block from the execute, and then April had some juke shoes here just to be able to clean up. And then they got the Gold Fury, obviously, and then it was just this 3-3 start to this fight ended up just in a completely different spot.
Yeah, I feel like, and there's something in the middle of this. So we get the triple kill, you get the quadra kill, and it's very impressive. I have to give the MVP to whoever it was. It was either Sager or Ollie, but one of them blocked the execute. Like it's juke shoes a little bit, but then like a nice hard body in front of you to make sure that somebody just doesn't find that kill. It keeps them alive and keeps the jungle hopes going.
Absolutely. I mean, as long as you're staying around your tanks and you're making sure when that execute comes through, guys, and then you just slide behind them, it makes you both look good.
Yeah. And that way, hey, you get a great support reel, although maybe it's not the flashiest thing in the world. Yeah, I stepped in front of a guy.
Yeah, you see where I stood there. That was pretty solid.
It was pretty solid. We can see what they do, though, here in game number 2. I think based on the first few minutes of that game, we can pretty easily say that these two are close to equally matched. Peace and Love will be your second pick team one more time. Daji is going to be the first ban. I think last time it was Daji Fenrir at the very beginning, and everything kind of fell straight into line. I mean, they didn't vary too far from what we've seen as the top picks.
Right, and it seemed like both teams sort of got what they were looking for. I mean, they had solid picks there, and as long as, besides the solo, and that's why I really wanted to focus on, because I think the duo lane, both of them were kind of, their stat lines weren't looking that impressive, but they were getting their damage off. It was just, I think once the solo laners rotated over, that's when Late to Scrims really started to shine there. So we'll have to see if Peace and Love wants to focus more on getting their solo lane something different that maybe they're more comfortable with, or maybe they just want to switch up their style.
We get Thoth, Bastet banned out. Soul, top pick once again. Davey looked really solid here. And so it's not too surprising for the bans to mostly remain the same. We'll see what Peace and Love try to change going into this because it was a big deal for them. The Bacchus was very solid early on, but we saw after Soul, like what, 2 ganks on Soul, all of a sudden Davey was just not free casting. They got to him each time, but he got a lot of damage out in the process. They go for the Bacchus Ama. And so at least strip away one big powerhouse away from Late to Scrims.
Yeah, that's something I want to touch on is that Davey really was getting focused pretty much that whole, he was the first target that like pretty much the whole time, but he still was able to get all that DPS off and was able to stall his death for long enough that his team was able to come up and clean up. So definitely, if you just want to keep coming for Davey, he's like, well, I'm going to get my damage off and my team's going to look good while it's happening.
I guess we'll get to see which solo laner is better at which pick because they just swapped this time around. We saw the Amaterasu on this side last time and it did really well. Now it's going to be over there with the Bologna matching up to it. The Agni comes back though, so you get your mainstay carries once again. A lot of it fell to the jungle, and I like this strategy from Peace and Love. All right, we're not going to ban them. We're just going to take them away from you and then see what you have left to offer. The Nemesis gets locked in, so you're going to have to see at least 2 changes. One of them has been the Bologna, but the other one has to happen in the jungle.
Yeah, in my eyes, Bologna and Ama kind of fill the same role. They just want to be those, engages, those auto attackers. They want to try to outbox the ADC with some frostbound, things of that nature. So that's not going to be too much of a change, but this Nemesis, taking away this Nemesis is definitely going to, throw a wrench in their plans. Maybe they were planning for it or not, but either way, this Nem was definitely a staple of what they were able to do in game 1. So taking that off the table, I think that was a great play.
And it's opened up, again, a conversation to be had. I'm actually surprised Kabrak and Ares are the bans from Peace and Love. Sobek's still on the table. That's kind of what I thought was going to be up there in one of those two bans. It is the Heimdall and the Medusa that gets banned out on the other side. So late to Scrims trying to focus up on those carries and bad matchups for Soul specifically. Hachiman gets locked in. And from what we saw last year, like, if Agni is the pinnacle of mages and, like, you know, perfect balance, he's not too OP, not too weak, I feel like Hachiman falls right into that area. He does exactly what he sets out to do. He plays a really good hunter game, but he's not too strong and he's not too weak. He's just right in the middle.
Yeah, I think so. The horses, it makes him very safe. He's got a dash. He's got CC immunity. He's got decent clear. He has the auto attack stim if he needs it. So yeah, I agree. Hachi can stand his ground. He could also be a hard carry if he needs to. And Agni definitely fills that same type of role as well here. But the Erlong Shen, now to me, that screams some early aggression. And again, it's a great matchup into the Nemesis. You can break the shield, so I like what they're doing here. The Erlong into Nem is always a nice counter matchup, at least early.
Tiamat locked in at the very end. I have to agree with you wholeheartedly, though. You get the Sobek back. You have a Bologna this time instead of the Amaterasu, so we'll see how that one works out. But you get Soul, you get Agni and Sobek, 3/5 of the team that worked out really well. And then Erlong, who matches well into Nemesis and also feels like he does what we just saw the Nemesis doing, but a little bit better anyway. So it's going to be fun to watch to see if this jungle matchup ends up being the same. Tiamat gets locked in at the very end. And as far as mid laners go, I mean, you had mentioned this earlier, survivability. Like, every single person on the side of Peace and Love can get out of the fight pretty well, but it feels like that might not be enough.
Yeah, I just think the Nemesis pick is going to be kind of rough here. They just have a lot of hard CC. I mean, that shield's going to be broken pretty much every single person has a way to break that shield. So it's going to be very difficult just to get in there and focus on. But I mean, I got to give the draft if it was up to me to late to Scrims here.
Well, we'll see what late to Scrims are able to do with a draft. They got the better picks. Can they play it at that level? Well, they won the first game, so theoretically, yes, they can. We'll see if Peace and Love have something to say about it, though, as they get aggressive here. And once again, we're seeing another 5-man wandering through the jungle. But again, Trelly, I'm having trouble convincing myself this is going to turn into anything. No. As much as I want it to.
They have the Sobek, they have the Erlong, so they're just like, maybe if we catch someone out, we have lots of CC, we could get a free pick. That's always a great way to start the game, just that first blood gold. So they're just looking to see if they can catch someone out there, but at least they got some wards down, and now they just get to go back to their regular start. No Persephone this time, so they don't have to worry about any flowers being placed.
Making sure that they're safe. Don't get the early capabilities of killing off a Persephone who makes a mistake, but at least you get to hang around and look fun in the jungle. Nice deep ward as well, so timers and things like that. Again, fun. Maybe not necessarily game-changing at the very beginning. And so far the starters, they're much more, well, the same, much more expected across the board, homogenous. We get the death toll for both the Amaterasu and the Bologna this time around, so Sustain's going to be there. And it's not mannequins for April. I'm always scared of an Erlong Shen in a game, and I think April, after playing last game, deserves that fear.
Yeah, I mean, Erlong at level 2 with Blink and Mannequin Scepter can pretty much kill anyone with no sort of escape on the map, so got to be very careful here in this mid lane, but it looks like he is just going to be going for the farm game right now, not looking for any early ganks. If someone gets out of position, you know, you can always just blink in, knock them up, and then you get those Mannequin procs, and very early DPS there, but it looks like Erlong's just going to be going for the farm, looking for maybe a level 3 play.
Yeah, he's hanging around in the back camps right now. Not exactly where I expected him. In fact, I expected him here, where Port happens to be. Davey gets knocked out by Flurry Q, stun onto Ollie. And Port gets the perfect beeline to the back line, manages to get onto Davey, but a great pluck and a better disapparate gets Davey out of there. And now with a couple of health pots as well as some sustain from Soul, should be able to make the better trade of this one, at least survive.
Yeah, the auto and the dash definitely killed. That was a beautiful pluck out of there. And now it looks like April might be going for the regank, but he's been spotted out. They already pinged it, so I don't think they're going to step up too far here unless April just sits there for a while.
Well, right now, sitting there for a while is the name of the game. Seems like that one's going to fall apart. I think Ollie goes for a dash, unfortunately, just a little wide, and is not going to be able to connect there. So keeping things a little more balanced. I'm waiting for that blink, though. I'm scared of what April's going to be able to do. I'm also not too worried. I mean, you know, we've been harping on how great it can be early on. It does pretty good late game, too, so I can wait a little bit for April to start getting aggressive. Meanwhile, Port, I like seeing their presence on the map. The same thing can be said over here in the duo lane. There's going to be another Frenzy. Good pluck immediately onto Flurry Q. Autos are good. but it doesn't seem like it'll be enough. Even the knock-up doesn't slow Flurry Q down enough.
Ollie was thinking maybe that pluck cooldown will come back up, but diving underneath the tower, Sager has so much pressure over here in this solo lane. The blue end, they should be pretty free with that Mana Conceptor.
Uh-oh. But now they're in trouble. Sager's low, gets the blue, and is running away. Does he have the distance? There's no mana for Steefy. All you have to do is walk properly. There's the block stacks. Apriel is going to come in for the save. No way does Sager live through this. And even worse, Apriel's going to be able to pick up at least one kill. Now the dashes are through for Port. Port is looking around, but Apriel is looking to close the gap. There's the blink, there's the turtle, there's the kill, and it's a double kill to start off for the jungler.
There's that blink that we were waiting for. That Mana Conceptor is just going to be doing so much. And unfortunately, Steefy just didn't have the mana to help. And then Port was like, maybe I can come back and help. And I think ended up body blocking him a little bit, so they both get caught out there. That could have just been a blue buff, but they really thought that they had those. I mean, it could have went either way at that point.
Yeah. And the shake-up, you get the experience and you get the kills, has to feel great for late to scrims. And that jumps them up. It's, 1,500 gold, which is nothing to scoff at, or a little less than that, about 1,300. Either way, keeping them in a comfortable position early on, and a lot of that going to your jungler. Level 5 taunt available. We saw what Arden was able to do as the game scaled later on, so I expect a lot out of this mid 2v2. And the continued pressure, I mean, at this point, don't let up. Keep going for it.
Yeah, I mean, Apriel is going to just, at this point, you look for another kill with your ult, but it looks like Sager might have it. If he can get a little bit more, he's got the one. Nope, he's not going to go under the tower. So, close. Honestly, with the fight that I just saw, I really expected a tower dive. I was like, you have the items for this, go for it. But Sager, smarter than I, not diving the tower there. But Apriel has the lead, has the full crusher already on that back. So, I definitely want to see him get active. Anywhere. I think you could go to any lane right now and get a kill as this Erlong.
Pretty easily, and you know what? Honestly, I expect it a little bit. Over here in left, Flurry Q gets taunted right back in. The autos are there. The knockup is good. You just need one more hit, and there it's going to be. That's a third kill. Now it's Leitmotif. Great stun on the disengage for Leitmotif, but unfortunately, it seems like that is going to be the end of that one, unless Ollie decides to go for a little bit more. A good pluck does connect, but Beads help save the Hachiman one more time. Now at least keep the duo lane frozen at best.
And honestly, this is not too far off from how last game went. As iPort is going to be looking for some huge damage over here in the right lane. Sager does not have the ult available. I can't imagine he makes it out of this one.
Luckily, body blocked, locked down, and the kill is going to be good. And that just goes to show the punish. And watching that, it's so unfortunate. Like, right as he dies, the ult comes up. It's like the worst timing in the world. And it's not slowing down the rest of the team. I honestly thought we were going to see Apriel go for a little bit more there, locking Flurry Q down with the pin. They're going to go ahead and back away. Crusher's been picked up now for Apriel. Blink is back off cooldown. And of course, we keep highlighting that side of the jungle. Nemesis, a good gank over there onto solo. Sometimes that's all you need to right the ship.
Right. iPort, I mean, getting active after you get shut down at that blue buff is, I mean, it's very difficult because you want to just be like, guys, I'm behind. I can't help you out. I need to get my camps. I need to go farm.
Yeah.
But immediately Sager got a little bit overconfident with that ult, wasn't able to get the solo kill, just came right back over and killed before the ult came up. Just a smart play, making sure you're proactive where you can be, because you can't force when you're this far behind in the jungle matchup. If you do force it, you don't know where the other jungler is. Your gank turns into a re-gank. You both die again. You don't want that to happen. So just choosing very smart fights.
Being very careful with their engages. It's fun to watch, man. Late to scrims so far, I want to say, again, impressive. Davies the only name on this I think I knew. Sager might be on that list, but even then, it's just something that feels like you have one guy that has like the most name recognition. And it's been a very pleasant surprise for everybody else. The other side, nothing to scoff at, though. Again, keeping up in terms of farm, a little behind in the duo lane. Meanwhile, even pretty much everywhere else, Arden is somebody else to keep your eyes on. Mainly this matchup versus the Tiamat. I don't expect a lot from Tiamat for, well, we're 6.5 in, so maybe another 6+ minutes before we really get to see the true impact that Zero can have.
Yeah, we have no sort of kills or assists out of either of the mid laners. They're probably just going to be on their farm game, just clearing, go back, get backs, go back, go red, and just keep doing their thing. These junglers, though, getting very active in the jungle right now, looking for a red buff invade, it looks like. And I don't know, this might be a really bad fight to take. The level 8 Erlong is here.
Davey as well, getting aggressive. There's the purple buff respawning. Aggression is great, and there's the taunt. Flurry Q pulled in. Flurry Q burned down, but Apriel takes a lot of damage in the process. Gets healed up just enough to disengage. Nemesis is still hanging around. You have to be careful going into the one-on-one. Hachiman rotates in. Supernova is good, but it's not good enough. Some Great shots from Ardun and a beautiful pluck from Ollie. Delivers the kill on a silver platter, and Davey scoops it up. One more hit is all it takes for Zero, but Zero's going to be able to get back in the lane under the tower.
Ardun's got to find him,
back.
right?
Ardun, you got to turn to the... No! It was right there! You couldn't have one step forward and to the left. He didn't have any meteors, but he had to have something.
I mean, at the very least, you got to have the sound cue that she says when she's back. You had to know she was somewhere, just didn't know where. iPort taking a lot of damage.
Stays way too long for his welcome, but great plays from FlurryQ, who's managing to slow this down. Flame Wave doesn't connect. iPort is staying alive. iPort trying to turn it around. One more auto, that's all you need. Ollie is going to make sure they go away. They peel for Davey, they get the kill, and they continue things going in favor of late to scrims, but FlurryQ does not seem to want to be done. Ollie isolated from their team. A good dash gets the disengage, but Zero is not waiting. April comes back. This is the fight that never ends. It's just going to be one tagging in for another every time. But I think finally the 2v1 odds, they're going to go ahead and shake things up and slow this fight down.
Well, even Steefy made a rotation over, and it looks like Sager is just proxying waves at this point. So Steefy got nothing out of that. There was no real fight to be had, and now he's just got to run over, see if he can defend his blue buff at this point. So if anything, late to scrims just taking everything they want. That fight did go on so long, and I really wanted iPort to live just because he juked the flame wave, and then he juked the lane, and another kill in the mid lane for Ardun. Anywhere April goes, it's just flames.
It's just flames, unfortunately. And honestly, hey, that's just good teamwork, right? It's like, I'm going to pin them. You do literally everything else, and then we'll see what happens afterward. It's been a good combo between the two of them. 5-1-0 for the jungler for late to scrims, but it's 0-0-4 right now for this Agni. Ardun is not getting the last hits, is not securing anything, but he is making sure that they go down.
And that's all you got to do at this point. Agni, I mean, you can play him a bunch of different ways. You could be the main damage dealer. You could just be set up. He has so much CC. So Agni 0-0-4, not a stat line that I hate to see at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe if he just got a few of those last hits, he would have his double pen build already finished at this point. But I'm sure he's fine just letting April get all the kills and just go left lane, go right lane, go get all the pressure that we need to. They still have not felt too confident enough to pull that Gold Fury yet. But with the Soul, with the Erlong, with even if they have the Frenzy available, they could definitely pull it if they need to.
I mean, hell, with the presence they have just in the jungle, this purple buff, I don't remember the last time Leitmotif was able to get it. It's only a 1-level lead separating the two hunters, and honestly, not even that. Leitmotif just now ticks over to 10, so keeping it relatively close. Zero as well is sitting about 1.5 levels behind, and so playing relatively well. But those like 1-level leads, 1-level gaps, in conjunction with the almost 4,000 gold lead really hurts during these fights. And like you said, I think fainting towards the Gold Fury relatively soon is going to be the next play. Red buff, it's not up for a little while. I don't know what Ollie's fishing for, but they're focusing and posturing on this side of the map.
Yeah, maybe they're just looking for someone to step out of place at this point. They're still, again, the smart play. They're doing everything they need to, not trying to force anything just yet. Maybe if someone steps up, they get a pick, they'd be looking for this. But at this point, they're pretty cool with just inching this lead along because they have, at level 10, have this big of a lead is solid, but just keep going. It'll keep gradually growing. That purple buff, as we've said, it does not belong to Peace and Love anymore. That purple buff is on the late to scrims timer whenever they want it.
So far, they've been treating it pretty well. Red buff might be joining in that terms just because of the aggression. Ollie's hanging around. Ollie's alone right now, though. That might not necessarily spell success for a red buff invade. And I think, yeah, the Sobek is recognizing it. No, he's going to walk forward. Steals it away on top of that. Gets a red buff for himself. And now Ollie showcases what one lone support can do. I doubted him. The team's going to fall back. Hey, they started up a Gold Fury. They're going to burn it down. They're going to burn it down quick. That lead becomes even larger late to scrims with the invades and the Gold Fury.
Late to scrims, early to the Fury. We're going to use that joke until it tires out.
Literally until they either make it to the SEC and change their name or until they're gone.
I mean, Ollie was solo invading the red buff, and they thought that was their biggest concern. And then they peeked over at gold. Oh, yeah, it's got 10% HP at this point. So nothing they can do there. Already looking to maybe pull Pyro here, but they don't really have the numbers for it. It looks like it is just a 4v4, so they're not going to pull just yet. Just go for that Scorpion instead. But Ollie could be looking for a pluck here as well.
It's going to be a big one if he gets it onto Porton. They do. Good stun follow-up immediately from Ardun. They do force out at least a little bit of safety and security. The dashes from Port gone. The ult from Port thrown out as well. The damage follow-up doesn't seem to be there. Arden has to keep track on this jungler. They're looking to make a beeline straight to the mage. It seems like that's going to be a clean disengage from late to scrims. Recognizing the fight's not going the way they want, Peace and Love are going to try to start up and potentially successfully do this Pyromancer. It doesn't seem like anybody on late to scrims is going to come over here. So they at least get an objective in their favor.
I was hoping Ollie would walk up slowly and just sickening strike it like he did the red buff, but you
Right.
know what? I think at this point they're pretty they're pretty chill with like, hey, we got the Gold Fury, you guys can have the Pyro. We got the objective we want. We have Davey who is just farming over here, 6k gold lead just about. I mean, you guys are in a great position. Late to scrims doesn't have to go for a cheeky steal on the Pyromancer.
Oh man, you have to look at where that gold is. Specifically, like the Hunters, it's 1,300 gold separating Davey and Leitmotif. I mean, that is a lot just for one player to have. And so that separation, 2 levels, but specifically in gold, is really nuts. Same thing can be said for the mid laners, a lot separating them. Now it's going to be a taunt once again. Flurry Q caught out. Good leap. And it doesn't seem like they have enough of a follow-up, so Flurry Q's going to get out of here. The red buff is the target. The red buff does get secured. Lose tier 1 on left, lose your red buff, potentially lose 0 if they get their way here.
These
That just feels like
plucks
success.
into the bombs. I mean, Ollie is just hitting every single pluck that he needs to. They have so much damage to follow up with it as well. I mean, it didn't look like it on that Bacchus because they had a ton
Wow.
of damage waiting for that, but that's just the chug passive at that point. But once 0 got plucked and we saw 500 damage just about from that flame wave, we know just how much this Agni is doing. It's not to the Bacchus.
Something you got to be scared about. Yeah, Bacchus is maybe the least of their concerns right now. If they get Flurry Q, they're happy with it. Realistically, if you're Peace and Love, Sobek is an ever-present threat. There we go. One of those constantly available nuisances. And he gets
He's
out of
surrounded.
there. Look,
He's
I mean, he's
surrounded by
surrounded.
four.
He's got CC immunity. He gets ulted by 2 people here. You have to imagine he cannot get out of this alive. Yeah, they do punish it, but it's the rotation from the rest of the team. Great supernova in the middle of everybody. Leitmotif is low, and April sees the opportunity, starts to chase it down, looking for the kill. Finds it, and is now able to turn their eyes away. 0 is low, but 0 is able to help collapse in, get rid of Ardun, and shut down the mid laner on the other side. April and Davey, a lot of damage, but not a lot of confidence here. 3v2. They're going to play this one safe, but they're not out just yet. April goes back in. April wants the mid laner. April goes for a taunt, and they're looking for a little bit more, but unfortunately they end up dying off of it. And that is a great play from 0. Good CC and a good play by Port to make sure they don't die.
I mean, that just all started from Ollie being way too overconfident, just trying to steal away as many flowers as he could at that point. 1v4. At that point, you just say, all right, guys, Sobek was trolling. Let's let him die. But they all tried to group together and save what little hope they had, and then ended up losing 3-4. That was just, I mean, a little overzealous play. They didn't lose as much as you would think off that. The gold lead is still pretty substantial, but, I mean, that was just Sobek going way too far without any sort of backup.
An uncomfortable position, I think, for him to be in. And yet, even I think it showcases 2 things. One, that late to scrims have a massive lead and that they can afford a couple of fights like that. But mostly, Peace and Love can still fight back despite this deficit. You can't get too overzealous. You can't bite off more than you can chew just because you have this lead. I think that specifically the kill onto Ardun is such a huge deal. Being able to get it when they did, stopping a lot of that mage burst from coming through, the meteors, the flame waves, at least isolates where late to scrims damage is. April, I realize I'm about to say this to a 6-2-0 Erlang Shen, but is not where I'm looking for a lot of their damage. Is a lot of the chase down, is a lot of the like setup, but I feel like it's setup into Ardun into April kill.
Yeah, I definitely think April has been looking a lot at this Bacchus just because he can interrupt him so much. So it looks like if he's not been getting to the backline that much. Yeah, he has been more so set up, just trying to do everything that he can to set up for his team. But yeah, with all the kills that you have as an Erlang, you should definitely be trying to get in there and just shred everyone. And on the flip side, Port, look at his build. He's got Jotuns and Hydras for the squishy. He's got Silver Branch for the tanks. I mean, Nem is going to be shredding at this point in the game, even despite this differential.
Seems to be doing pretty well throughout the last engagements we've seen. We'll have to keep our eyes on Port to see if anything big happens here. It's going to be Stevie who gets plucked back. Stevie is just getting taken down, but there's the Dazzling Offense. CC immunity gets him out of there, just not far enough. April, waiting around, is able to find that Flurry Q. Well, you're going to find the exact same treatment. And unfortunately, it is Sager on the other side doesn't seem too worried in that position. Surrounded by 3, still manages to get out. And hey, if you wanted a free Oni Fury, well, you just got it, and you got 2 kills to boot.
You got to feel bad for Steepy there because, you know, the solo lane hasn't rotated over too much, hasn't really seen the DPS. They're able to just get off. Beads is available, you don't beat the pluck, you think, I'm a solo laner, I can make it out, and then you're like, oh gosh, the second you touch the ground, you realize just how much damage these carries do have. That wasn't even with the jungle. April was in the back line during that whole time, and he just happened to run in the same direction as Steepy was to get out, so he got the free pickup there, but Steepy probably thought he was tanky enough with the Spirit Robe to survive that, but he just was not.
And unfortunately, I mean, Spirit Robe, you had mentioned all the CC earlier, feels like such a great item to get, and then it sucks that you're just not quite tanky enough. Like, you're like, cool, I get out of the CC immunity a little faster, let's go, I'm going to run. Oh, I'm dead anyway. Okay, cool. There's 5 of them, and they're still chasing you down. They get the Oni Fury, they're starting up a Pyromancer. Maybe going to get a little bit more. Port is coming around the corner. Port hears it going on. Port's going to run away as Sager goes in for the ult. So that should be an easy confirmation. Late to scrims, pushing this lead even further. Sitting at 8,400 gold. That is a hefty, hefty lead 18 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, despite that one troll play that Ollie made where he did step up a little bit too much, I mean, they have to put respect on this Sobek at all times now. He is constantly just at the front of the team fight, looking to displace you, looking to pluck you into his team. No one right now should be, like, unaware of where this Sobek is because of how much of these plucks have been so impactful.
It's that 1 in 10, 1 in 5, whatever chance of Ollie making a mistake like that. Like, every now and then he's going to miss a pluck, he's going to be in a bad spot, you're going to kill him. Every other time, someone's getting plucked, they're going to die, and you're going to be worse for wear. So you have to be careful which Ollie that you're going to get. So Peace and Love have been playing it well. There's a good grip on the Flurry Q. At least tosses them back in, but a good belly flop gets on out of there. And this, look, 19 minutes in with this amount of lead, if they get a single pick, late to scrims are going Fire Giant.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're feeling for.
Yeah, I mean, it surprises me that they're even pulling this FG right now because they were so... Nope.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Hey, they got the pluck, they got the kill, and they got rid of Flurry Q. Steefy goes in deep. Steefy is looking for the mid laner, but not able to find it. The fight is so separated. Zero is alone, and Zero doesn't have a lot of places to go. April is trying to get in there and does so. Like, Motif is going to try to fight this off, but you've lost 3 members of your team. Let's make it 4. A double kill for the jungle and a 4-man sweep. This is a free Fire Giant.
You gotta give props for Ardun for even surviving that. They put so much into him, but Ollie had great peel. I mean, not only are you setting up everything with these great plucks and the great damage, but he's also peeling so well for his team. I mean, Ollie's just putting on a masterclass of how to play support right now, and late to scrims is just flourishing. They got the FG, and I was gonna say, like, I'm surprised they're even pulling this because they were so... Even with the lead they had, they didn't want to pull that gold unless they had it so guaranteed. But the bait was all they needed. Ollie found the pluck, and then it just turned into 4.
And it's such, and you know, we had maybe mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it was a conversation that could have been had with Belt Slap. I think Europe has a lot of really, really good, prominent Sobek players. Ollie is definitely going to be a name I remember because of this. Something that it feels like has to be banned. Unfortunately, it's a best of 3. If you don't win here for Peace and Love, and things do fall apart. Fire Giant on all 5 members. And they've got a power play for another 3 minutes, 20 seconds. There's only tier 2s still standing on the side of Peace and Love, so it's going to make it a little easier in terms of where late to scrims can put that pressure and try to find their spots to break open. But it hasn't, I mean, you had even said it right there, like, except for when Ollie's getting a pluck or if somebody steps just a little bit out of position, it has not been free fights overall for Peace and Love. Like, that was a 4-for-none trade, but they had to commit a lot early on to make sure it happens that way.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first pluck and then the disposition, then come back at the second pluck, and even after that pluck, like I said, Ardun got aggressed on by Port and Steefy, and it was like, if Port got the blink off and was able to get to the Agni with no dash, I think he probably dies there, but they kept him in combat, they just peeled so well, and it wasn't even because again, it was a split fight. They had 2 people diving their backline while Ollie was able to solo peel for his carry, so just a great plays out of all of them, and that tower just got deleted.
Yeah, I love it, just the way that they're playing this, and it's one of my favorite item combinations. When Bologna's in the meta, I guess, is really the only time. You have so many auto attackers. You've got 2 Shoguns on your team, but you also have the Witchblade to help try and deal with the auto attackers on the other side. So I like where Sager's gone with the build. I am a little frightened for anybody that tries to stand, or any objective that stands in front of these, because that was a lot of quick autos and a lot of damage being dealt very quickly. Sager I think he's, yeah, picking up the scroll there. Now they're going to go ahead and fall back. 2 tier 2s, 2 exposed Phoenixes. They still have about 2 minutes to play with, so a lot for late to scrims to work around here.
I mean, they have such a huge lead, but again, they're still not really confident just pushing into that Phoenix. They're going to go for the gold. Maybe they run it down left lane here instead of going for that right tier 2, which I think is the right play. They have the lead to make this 100%, but maybe they were just, you know, making sure they got everything off the map, just so in case, in a world where they mess this up, it's not so late that Peace and Love can just end off it. So just make sure they don't have any more avenues to get back into this game if this goes bad.
Pyromancer will be spawning soon on the right-hand side of the map. They're set up to try and grab this left hand. It's a frenzy from the other side. Peace and Love trying to get aggressive. Ardun takes a lot of damage. So does Flurry Q. They're going to go ahead and sustain this one off. Flurry Q's isolated and alone. The gate is open, but a good taunt and a good knock up there from Abriels. They're going to be able to chase that down. And now Port has to run away. Port is going to be able to just narrowly escape the stun and make it under the mid lane Phoenix. But left side, it's getting burned down. It's getting taken away. Davey gets credit for the bird kill. Mid Phoenix goes down alongside it. And the fight is continuing on. Late to scrims, one a little more. They want to get into the Titan room. And they're just going to get aggressive. Ollie, a little short on the pluck, but the damage is there. The Titan is getting aggressed on, but it seems like they want to fall back. There is Steefy. There is a lot of damage. Ardun helps stay alive and gets the kill on top of all of that. And unfortunately for Steefy, they're just burned down. That's going to be 2. That's going to be 3. And with 4 of them gone, they're going to rush on forward. Zero trying to do whatever they can. And they get rid of Ardun, but they can't stop the flow of the game. It's going to be a 2-0. And late to scrims, well, they showed up this time.
Oh, they showed up big time. That's just an absolute insane lead. Just that Phoenix siege that started with Ardun getting his dash caught, but they just couldn't do anything off it. They just had so much gold. They had so many items. Even having to use both relics at the start of the Phoenix siege was not enough to kill that Agni. And then the icing on the cake, he dashes away from Zero, and then the flames on him, and the Titan goes boop and just kills him right before. So that was the only thing that could take down Zero at that point.
I love the way they play that again. Really, really good game from late to scrims, but we did get to see some good moments from Peace and Love. We'll break all that down, watch the replays and all that right after this.
Don't force me out of bed in your society. Don't push me down the road you're bringing down. Don't try to fix my head, it's just your anxiety. Don't hush me now, cause I just wanna shout. Don't make me dance to the tune that you're humming. No, my body don't move like that. Don't make me pretend I don't see your shortcomings. You'll be running when I raise the black flag. Get out your bomb.
All right, to Scrims do exactly what they wanted to today. They come in, they find themselves a 2-0 victory to go ahead and advance themselves forward, at least to the next round qualifiers, of course, which is what they're going to be playing in and what we will be watching next weekend when we go into Europe. But for now, we can go ahead and talk about it, Trelly. That intense game. I mean, it feels so easy. There's a lot, I think, that you can see damage-wise from a lot of the players. I kind of want to just give Ollie all of the credit, though, because it feels like no matter what, there was a Sobek block preceding everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to look at the highlights and the flashy plays and the big kills and just say, man, these carries were playing so well. April was everywhere, you know. But Ollie really was setting up, and if not, at the very least, just baiting every. Oh, this first blood was. I mean, not the first. Yeah, the first kill here was just. It was just bad. It could have went either way, and then it just went so hard towards late scrims.
I don't think I've seen, you know, and Sayer did, this is wild to me to say, did such a great job kiting at 30 HP. There's not a lot in this game you can do with 30 HP and survive, and yet they managed to do it. But again, I think Ollie, and you were kind of, you know, noting on this as well, that is the kind of play that preceded pretty much every single kill that could have happened. Any big team fight, yeah, guess what? Ollie started things off.
Yep, and here was that pluck that just set the snowball in motion to win this firefight so hard. I mean, Q could not survive. Got the Intoxicate off, but after that, it was just curtains.
Unfortunate for them. They fall down just a little too much. We got to see April once again kind of reprise their role as, hey, a very flashy jungle player that came through. A lot of good kills, and of course they were able to find a lot of presence into the backline. Good taunts from this Erlong, and I think that one was the one that we had called it where it was like, well, okay, that's a little lucky that you happen to be there, but you still got the kill nonetheless. Just really good play. Again, a team where I knew Davy's name and didn't really recognize anybody else. I'm pleasantly surprised with what late to scrims brought today. Yeah,
I mean, it was a bit of a slow start, and I think the fights could have went either way. I think that it was just, once they really got their momentum going, though, I mean, like I said, I'm with you. I want to give all the credit to Ollie because that was just, having a good, solid tank to initiate and just peel for you while also being like the backbone of your team. It helps the whole squad flourish.
We can go ahead and take a peek at the European schedule and everything that we've seen so far today. If you've been tuning in, a lot of 2-0s over here in the first round. There was a forfeit yesterday. Of course, one match we played offline today that were 2-0s as well. But all of these teams that you see have won, and you'll see in a second when we look at the schedule, have advanced forward to a qualifier round. So everybody that you see in that qualifying round, if they win, well, then they'll be in. So next week, that'll be 4 guaranteed teams going to the SCC. And then, of course, down in the bottom in the losers bracket, you will have these teams fighting to get to, you'll guess it, another qualifier round. And those last 2 teams will qualify for the SCC, finalize the top 6, and of course earn their spot as some teams that we're going to be watching for quite a while this year. But that's just Europe. 16 teams that showed up there. There is also North America. We watched them on Thursday. You'll never guess this, but we're watching them again tomorrow, Charlie.
I'm very excited. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here for that.
Yeah,
now
so
I'm
now
here.
you get to come in.
So now I get to sit back and enjoy some of that NA Smite.
It's a lot of recognizable names on this list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've seen those games, they're going to be very intense. They're going to be again, the early starts of this bracket are very high kill, high, one way or the other. But it's just going to get more intense, more competitive Smite as the week goes on.
And I believe Samsara is going to be playing, but I believe Funhavers in the neighborhood is just straight up a matchup we got to see during the SPL qualifiers, and is another, like, we might have seen it twice, if I remember correctly. And it's going to happen again. Samsara as well making their reappearance, along with a lot of other names. Stops time down at the bottom, I think I recognize. So, again, same style bracket. 16 teams come in. 6 of those will make it into the SCC in North America. And tomorrow, we're going to be finalizing the last 4 in that qualifying round before we go into next week where they come through. But it's a lot of fun Smite still ahead of us, Trelly, and it's a lot of fun, I think, to be had playing around with this meta, especially with how aggressive North American can be.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just such a different style. It's nice to go from the NA matches to the EU matches just to see how much it differs, because you wouldn't expect it to differ that much, but the play styles, just how they play around these objective fights, it all varies very much, and the NA style right now is very, like, get after it and action-packed.
Well, that's it that we have for today, though. Europe, all in the books. North America tomorrow. I have to say congratulations, Shelly. Your first day here officially as in the books. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, we're going to be kicking it off tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern here once again for North America. So make sure you tune in, and we'll see you then.